Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Sorry about that last video running so long. I need to figure out how to kind of trim things out, like maybe use less of the time-lapse stuff that you guys don't really need to see, like me jacking up the cars. I'm sure you guys don't really care to see that, so I'll work on trimming some of that stuff out so we can get actually more of the work in the video than unnecessary stuff. So I'll work on that kind of stuff, but we're back, and next thing we're going to work on is getting these subframe bolts out. There we go. These subframe bolts, that one and that one, and I already got on here and I pulled some measurements. So like you can see this hole right here, that goes all the way out, so I just pulled a measurement from here, and that actually put us right here. Hold on, let me get a little pointer for you. So I put us right here, and if you can see, it's kind of squared off right there. You know, it's kind of a square. So what we'll do is I'll cut right on this line and then cut back, you know, both sides, and then we'll just roll this up, and the bolt should be right there. And then, you know, I measured from bolt to bolt, and it's 15 inches. So 15 inches from right there puts us right up on the squared edge right there. So the other bolt should be right there. Alright, so like I was saying before my neighbor started mowing their lawn on me, I know it's 15 inches from the rear bolt to the front bolt, so the front one should be right in here, where you can see it's kind of squared here, and it should be in the middle of the frame rail, so I'm guessing it's about right here. So while they were mowing their lawn, I went ahead and pulled the back off the back seats, and that's real easy. It's just two of these bolts, one here and one here, and then there's also a big metal tray here with a bunch of these screws. So I just took that off, and then I took all the clips from all the wiring so that I can move that all out of the way. So we're all clear here. So next thing to do is to start cutting, tear this thing open, see if my measurements are right, and the bolt should be right here. So I'm going to try to use my rotary tool with a metal cutoff disc to cut into this. Hopefully it works. If it doesn't, I'll switch to my grinder. But I want to try using these discs because they're so thin, and when it comes time to put this back together and weld it up, we won't have such a big gap to try and fill with the welder. But these discs have a high tendency to blow up and send shards everywhere, so I'm going to be wearing my face shield, and you may think I look like a dork, but when this is over, I'll be the dork with two eyeballs. Alright? Alright, the rotary tool did a good job. I didn't blow up any blades yet. A little slow going, but you know, we got a nice clean cut, and but it's a little off where I thought it was. I thought the bolt was going to be here, but it's actually a little farther over. So, you know, where this bend is, you know, you see that bend right there, a little hump. It looks to be about center of where that hump is where the bolt is, if you want to be a little more precise. That's the good thing about having this parts car, is we can make all these practice cuts, and then when it comes time to get to work on the GS, everything should be perfect. So anyway, the bolt's underneath this cap here, and it looks like the cap has little flanges that come off and maybe spot welded to the rail, because I see a flange on each corner of it. So I'm gonna see if maybe I can just like stick my flathead down in there and maybe hammer it and break those little spot welds, and see if we can get that cap off of the bolt. So this is getting frustrating. So I wound up cutting more this way so that I could get to, you know, the little flanges on this cover, and it just was not coming. So I wound up running across here with the Dremel to open, just figured I'd open it up and just pull the bolt out that way. So, but when you open this up, you know, there's the bolt, you know, but it looks like, get that to push back down now. This piece on the top, this piece here, that's actually welded to the top of the bolt. So I'm going to try to take my Dremel and go underneath the little gap here and cut through those welds. It looks like it's just 2 spot welds on the corners, and hopefully that will free it up. Alright, we get the bolt out finally. That was more of a pain than I expected it to be. So here she is, and she sits down in there like that. Now, I thought this cap was spot welded to the top of the bolt, but it's actually not. Now you can see the bolt, it's completely encapsulated in there, but you know, it's free. It's just sitting in there. But this cap is welded all the way on, and then this piece here overlaps the bolt about halfway, and then these flanges were spot welded to the inside of the frame. So that's our bolt. So what I would suggest, probably go about, maybe ½ inch from this plastic. That's where something screws in there, and then go straight across to the frame rail, and then cut this way, and I'd say go about 4 inches. So come down about 4 inches and then cut across, and then just cut the top of this flange. Just cut that right off, and then if you cut back here far enough, you'll be able to go straight down with a screwdriver or chisel or something and pop those spot welds on the bracket that go to the frame rail. It'll be much easier to get this whole thing out that way. So I need to do that same thing over on this side. But keep in mind, we don't need to do this in the GS, because obviously, you know, this bolt isn't right here in the GS. But we will need to do something to get this back into that hole on the GS. I'm gonna cut this all off, cut this top off. I want to try to leave these flanges on, because that'll actually help keep it in place and stop it from turning when we're trying to, you know, put the nut on here. And then I'll have to come up with something, you know, maybe I'll just cut this off. I'll leave this one on, because that will hold the top of the bolt from sliding up into the frame when we're trying to bolt that on. But we'll figure that out. Figure that all out later. Alright, so this side I'm going to try what I said. I'm going to go 1/2 inch from this little plastic screw spot. Go 1/2 inch straight back to the wheel well. And I'm going to follow this curvature of the frame rail. Follow that straight. Come down 4 inches. And then, so we'll cut like this. Up here, back. Roll this whole piece up, and we'll see if that puts us right where we wanted to be. Alright, those dimensions worked out much better. As you can see from that cut, we have full access to this thing. So I mean, from here I can even get these flanges here maybe. We may not even have to cut this. I'll try just popping these spot welds, see if we can take the whole thing out, but you know, you got the front spot, or I guess this would be the rear spot welds there and there, and you can get that whole bolt out, so you can kind of see how this cap is in there holding the bolt. Yeah, so again, it was a 1/2 inch back from this little plastic thing, followed the frame rail line straight down, and went 4 inches straight back and just rolled it up. And this is where the seat back bolts in, and it's like right there. We were really close to that nut. Man, doing it that way was much easier, and we actually got the entire thing out. You know, all 4 flanges on it. I mean, we probably I'm sure we don't need all of it. I want to try and keep these 2 flanges on it just so it doesn't spin in there when we're trying to bolt it down. So I'll probably just chop this whole top piece in half, get rid of all this, just keep that. But yeah, that was much easier getting it out, because you can actually, with it cut open like this, you can access all 4 flanges. And yeah, I use this big old screwdriver, a flathead, and this mallet, and just, you know, went down and beat through the spot welds on each bracket and got it all out. Now let's jump on the back ones. And see, this is why I wanted to use my rotary tool with that little bit, with the little cutoff wheel, because now we just have this, when you fold this back down, you just have this real small gap to fill with the welder, which it's like right at a 1/16. So real small gap to fill with the welder. So this is all bent up. I gotta put that flat, but I mean, we're not gonna weld this. Actually, you know what? Maybe we will. We'll just weld these up just for practice. Get the settings right on my welder before we go start welding on the GS. So I want everything on the GS to go perfecto. So here's the location on the rear bolt. This one we will have to get right, because the all-wheel drive bolt is going to go into the same hole that the existing bolt already is in the GS. So this one's kind of about the same. I went from here 1/2 inch, and that's about the start of the little end on this bracket, and then it's actually about 4.5 to get to the end here. I was just doing a little guesstimate and I went way too far. So yeah, about 1/2 inch from here, then 4.5 inch, and our bolt's under there. Alright, she is out of there. I don't know if they made these spot welds a lot better on this rear run, or if I was just having a hard time, because these spot welds I could not get through them. I broke a flathead screwdriver, and then I remembered I had some metal chisels, so I wound up having to use this one here. It's got a lot sharper tip. Use that one, but that was sketchy because I had to hold it down in here on the spot weld and hammer it with my hand really close to but anyways, got her out. So that's 3 down and one left. Go ahead and get that last one out of there. Alright, it's finally out. I don't know why, but this was the hardest one. I think this one took me the longest. I mean, I even tried to drill out the spot welds, and no luck. I just had to keep beating on it and beating on it, and finally I got all of them to break free. But Jesus, that one sucked. So, but got the front and rear for that side, and that's the rear. Yeah, so the front and rear for that side. I'm dead tired. So, alright. All that's left for this car, yeah, is the driveshaft brackets. I'm tired. I need to stop and take a lunch break. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, the last thing we should need off of this car are these driveshaft brackets. This one here and that one there. It's a tight fit under here, so I'm not going to be able to get the camera and the drill and all that to show you doing this, but I'll just explain. So these brackets are spot welded to the body, and you see all these little circles. Those are all the spot welds, and that's what we have to drill out. Over here, some of it's covered with some seam sealer, so we'll have to get that off. And then this I guess it's like a heat shield where your exhaust would run through here. We gotta take this off as well because it's covering up a few back here. Now you want to center punch right in the middle of each spot weld, and you know, like I said, it's a tight fit in here, so I'm not going to be able to get like a center punch and a hammer in here to get a nice whack on it. So I'm going to be using this center punch, and it's just spring loaded, so you set the point in there and then you pull back on it. When you let go, it hammers itself, so I'll be using that. And then you just drill it out. You should be using a spot weld drill bit, and it'll set right into where you center punched it, and it'll just drill out the spot weld and then leave the metal on the other side. But I forgot to stop off and get a couple of them. Make sure you got a couple because they wear out pretty quick. But since we're just taking it off of this car, it doesn't really need to be too nice, so I'm just going to completely drill them out with a regular drill bit. But when we go to work on the GS, I'll have an actual spot weld drill bit. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do, and I'll show you the brackets when I get them off. Got the first one off. Went pretty easy. I was almost able to drill them all out without going all the way through. like a couple of these, like that one and that one I went through a little bit. Oh, and this one here. You know, but most of them I didn't go through. What I did was I wedged the putty knife in the corner, put some pressure on it, and then started drilling slowly through, and then you can feel it kind of just pop a little bit once you're all the way through the spot weld. And I just did that for each one. So got the first bracket out. Let me get one more. All done. Got the front one out. Got the back one out. Both right here. So that's the rear bracket. And this big dog is the front bracket. Not too difficult to get out, but now is the exciting part, because I believe we are done with this car now. So now it's time to start working on that one. Alright, ladies and gentlemen, we are done. We are finally done with the GSX parts car. We got the rear subframe, we got the gas tank, we got the subframe bolts, we got the driveshaft brackets, we got the driveshaft, we got the fuel pump wiring. That should be it. We shouldn't need anything else from the GSX. So now is the exciting time. Now we get to start work on the GS. And I'm very excited, a little bit nervous, because this GS is my pride and joy. This is my baby. I've had this car most of my life. You know, I'm 16. I got it when I was 16. I'm 36 now, so that's 20 years I've had this car. So I've had this car most of my life. So very excited, little nervous. So this next video, we are gonna start work on the GS. You know, taking stuff off, putting stuff on. It's gonna get real exciting from here. So if you want to check out that next video where we're going to get started on the GS, hit that link up here. You haven't seen the previous video where we took the gas tank down from the GSX, you can hit that link up here. And if you're enjoying the videos, I hope you are, maybe you'll hit that subscribe link down here. And thanks for tuning in. Catch you on the next one.